Welcome to the Pan-European Youth and Peninsula of Peninsulas presentation. And today we're going to be looking at the geographical and stats of Europe. Now, and also, we're also going to be looking at the Pan-European Youth, and we're going to be mapping out everything about Europe that we know in this one presentation for the next 45 minutes. Now, I am Matthew Dunn. I am the group leader here. And we also have Avery Baldwin, Ryan Chase, Sarah Holcomb, and Brett Allen joining me. Now, I would like to give an honorable mention to Ryan Chase because he has done excellent work and he's doing college stuff in high school. So yeah, let's hop right into it. Now, the content defined. First, we got to ask, what is Europe? Europe today is the second smallest continent behind Asia. Now, what this means is that Asia has the biggest landmass out of everything in the world today, and Europe is second place behind that. Now, what's really cool about Europe is that it's a mix of 49 different countries, and all these different countries have their own traditions, and it's very interesting. Now, Europe is surrounded by many bodies of water. It is just surrounded, and and it also has a comprehensive history within its existence, meaning that it took place in many. We have world wars. We have the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand that started one of the wars. We have revolutions that happen in there. The French Revolution, again, that's in Europe, because France is a part of Europe. And also the empire, the British Empire, that's still going on today. That is just immaculate of what's going on in there. Now, the physical borders, meaning what cuts off everything from Asia, we have the Ural Mountains, the Caspian Sea, located, as you can see, my mouse is located this way over here, and the Ural Mountains are right over here, and the Black Sea, which is right here, as you can see, and the Turkish Straits. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to write these down as we move along during this presentation. Please and thank you. Now, some of you might be asking again, what do these borders do and how were they chosen? Well, they were chosen, but they weren't exactly chosen. As you can see over here, let's take the Ural Mountains, for example, right here. So these mountains right here, it's a natural border between Europe and Asia. And we also have the Ural River right here that goes right here. Alrighty. Now, what we have over here, we're mapping the peninsulas. So as you can see over here in the picture, we're going to be talking about all that there. So, we have 5 major peninsulas. And these are over here, we have the Jutland Peninsula. We have the Scandinavian Peninsula, which is in Northern Europe, and it includes Norway and Sweden. We have the Iberian Peninsula. It's in Southern Europe, and that includes it's the coastlines along the Atlantic. We have the Balkan Peninsula. It's located within Southern Europe, and it includes many countries. As you can see down here, we have all these lovely countries down here, and that's where our Balkan Peninsula is. And we also have the Italian Peninsula, which covers the southern region of Italy. So as you can see, we have all this right here. Now, Europe's main body of water. We have the Atlantic Ocean to the west, the Arctic to the south, and the Mediterranean to the north. And again, I would like to look at this picture here, just to show you right here. This gives you a better picture of like the Baltic Sea and the peninsulas that we talked about earlier. Right there. Now, if you can, my audience, can you write down 3 things for me? Or, yeah, 3 things that you would like to know more of these seas or straits or peninsulas that we're talking about during this presentation. Alrighty. And again, we're looking at our major mountain ranges, okay? So we have the Alps. That is one of the biggest mountain ranges that we have. So we have spanned several countries, including Switzerland, France, and Italy. Alrighty. We have the Pyrenees mountain range, which is, it's a natural border between France and Spain. We have the Carpathians, which stretches across Central and Eastern Europe. We have the Apennines, which runs down the length of Italy, so literally right here, as you can see all that brown right there? So the brown is the mountains right there, and what you can see here is the Apennines actually comes through the Alps, and it goes down throughout Italy right there, which I think is actually pretty sick. Now, also we have the Scandinavian mountains, which is located in Norway and Sweden. We also have the Ural Mountains, which we saw in the other slide, but here it is right here. Again, here is all of Europe right here, as we can see. I'm going to try and circle it. This is all of Europe right here, and then this is also Europe, and then we get to the Ural Mountains, and just on the other side of this is Asia. Alrighty. Now we have our top five longest rivers. So, we have the Volga River at 2,294 miles. The Danube River at 1,777 miles. The Ural River at 1,508 miles. The Dnieper River at 1,422 miles. And the Don River at 1,211 miles. Now, let's look at our population and demographic real fast. And I want to spend about a good 3 to 4 minutes on this, just because we can talk about this here. Now, our population here sits at 744 million people, and that is spanning all across Europe today. The density is 34 people per kilometer squared. So a kilometer, I forgot how, that's 1,000 meters, by the way. I just don't know how much is in a mile, so I'm so sorry about that. It's 1,000 meters, so yeah, 1,000 meters. And we have the most populated countries here, which is Germany, Russia, and France. And 75% live in urban areas. And that's just the most populated countries of today. Now, what I would like to notice here is we have an increase in demographics here in population within Italy right here. And also, I believe, okay, right there we have that. And then Norway and Sweden. No, Norway, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I got off track right there. Anyway, 75% of people live in urban areas, so more populated instead of like suburban. We have more populated areas within the urban areas. Now here we have the largest to smallest countries. Now we have Russia, of course, at the very top, very populated, and this graph right here is based off of kilometers squared, as you can see right here. This graph right here is based off of kilometers squared. And what I would like to talk about is Russia and Ukraine are very close to each other, but also notice how on the map they're right next to each other. So that could also be one part of it there. Now France, again, as you can see, we have no, I'm sorry. I'm looking for Italy, here we go. Italy, right here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I believe. Oh, 10. And as we can see, that population is getting bigger every single day. And credits to factmaps.com, by the way, for giving us this intel that we have here today. But we can see here the smallest country actually is Vatican City down there. And also Luxembourg is a very good honorable mention. Now I would also like to go back here to the major mountain ranges because I forgot to add something. So the fun fact about the Carpathians, it goes through Central and Eastern Europe. So the Carpathians are actually a really huge mountain range that I'm stumbling on my words here, I'm so sorry. Anyway, the Carpathians are actually very crucial to the habitat in Europe, and they have about 30% of the flora there, which means that about 30% of all flower species are just on top of that mountain, and a bunch of animals and wildlife depend on that mountain range. So without it, we probably wouldn't have some species today. Now, I'd also like to go back and talk about how amazing it is to have... You have all these oceans right here. You have the Atlantic to the west, so over here, and you have the Arctic to the south, so down here, and you also have the Mediterranean to the north, which is really good for their environment because they can get many types of fish species from all of that there, and it also benefits their environment too because they can run a bunch of economical trades through there, and they have a bunch of open trade right here in this area. Sorry, in this area there's a whole bunch of open trade. Now again, the Lapland Peninsula is all of this up here. I forgot to mention that, by the way. Even though it's not included in here, it's up here. This is the Lapland Peninsula. It's all of these countries right up here, as you can see. And what else what I was gonna say? Yes, the Caucasus right here, these mountains right here, these are also crucial for wildlife in Europe as well. And it is between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, and it's very crucial for wildlife the same way as the Carpathians mountains are. Because again, without these mountains, we might not have some wildlife that we do today. I would also like to take a second to look at these rivers here. Now, not only are these rivers the longest in Europe, however, these rivers also help out agriculturally to the environment. Now, some of these rivers were used to plant on, like they would settle right next to one of the rivers and they would grow their crops next to it. And that is a crucial part of history. If you learn history, that is a crucial part of like settlers and villages that were around. Now again, I want you guys to write down 2 mountain ranges, okay? 2 mountain ranges that you learned about, and or that you just know. And then afterwards, after you write down those mountain ranges, I want you to do your own private research and cover something that we haven't covered inside of this presentation. Like, I said some of these mountains are good for wildlife and flora. However, I did not cover what type of wildlife or what type of flora are on those mountains, and I'll leave that up to you. Now, I'm just going to give you about 30 seconds to do that really fast, or 30 seconds to write down 2 mountains, and then after this presentation, you can go and do the rest of that. Alrighty, on to the next one. Now this one, I need you guys to write down 2 rivers. Now we're going to be doing the same thing. However, again, with these rivers here, I don't want stuff that we already covered. And like I said, these rivers were good for planting and settlers to settle on in villages. I don't want to hear that. I want you guys to do your own research and cover what type of crops were grown, or what was the name of the village that was there. And yeah, I believe I'm going to toss you guys over to Avery Baldwin here. So thank you for listening to my part of the presentation. And Avery, take it away.
The climates and landscapes of Europe vary depending on where you are located in the continent. If you go further south of the continent, you're going to experience hot summers with wet winters. However, further up north of the continent, you're going to experience longer and cold winters with little to mild summers. The landscapes that make up Europe are extremely diverse. Europe has winding and massive coastlines, deep river valleys, which also have deep lakes. Not to mention, there are enormous forests that are scattered along different areas of the continent. The political map of Europe is divided up between political organizations and regional affiliations. These 2 groups are the European Union and Council of Europe. There are 50 sovereign states that make up Europe today. Next, we have the different peninsulas that make up Europe. So Europe is titled as a peninsula because a peninsula is a massive land that is completely surrounded by water. However, that is also connected to the mainland. Europe itself is completely surrounded by water and is made up of multiple different peninsulas, which is why it is given the nickname of Peninsula of Peninsulas. First, we have the Iberian Peninsula. This peninsula is located in southern Western Europe between the Mediterranean Sea and Atlantic Ocean. It is made up of 3 main countries, which are Spain, Portugal, and Andorra. It is the 3rd largest peninsula in Europe. It has multiple different borders, best known for the Pyrenees line up at its northern border, which cut it off from Europe. It is a drastic mountain range. Next, we have the Italian Peninsula. This is best known for as the boot-shaped peninsula, as you were taught in school at a younger age, probably with elementary school. Its countries that make it up are Italy, along with 2 microstates such as Vatican City and San Marino. The borders of this peninsula are massive mountain range that make up the entire coast, and it is surrounded by 4 major seas. Next, we have the Balkan Peninsula. This peninsula is located in the southern eastern part of Europe and is surrounded by 4 major seas, such as the Adriatic, Black, Aegean, and Ionian Sea. It also has 3 rivers at its northern border. This peninsula, however, is made up of a massive amount of different countries, with a grand total of 11 countries that make up this peninsula. However, there's still debate on agreement of which exact countries make up the peninsula. Geographically speaking, it is known for its numerous mountain ranges, such as the Balkan Mountains, which is where the peninsula gets its name from. Next, we have the Scandinavian Peninsula. This is located at the northern tip of Europe, and it is bordered by 3 seas, which are the Norwegian, Barents, and Baltic Sea. It has 1 gulf, which is the Gulf of Bothnia, and then it is also made up of 2 straits. It has 2 main countries, which are Sweden and Norway, that also make up this peninsula. However, The northwestern part of Finland is also included in this peninsula. Next, we have the Jutland Peninsula. It is located in northern Europe. It is bordered by three seas, which is the North Sea, the Kattegat Sea, and the Baltic Sea, along with one strait that also makes it up. The countries that make up this peninsula are known as Denmark and Germany, which Germany is located at the south of the peninsula. A lot of people often think that the British Isles are its own peninsula. However, this is false. Because the British Isles are not connected to the mainland, they are seen as their own island. In order to be classified as a peninsula, a group of land that is surrounded by water must also be connected toward the mainland. But since it is completely cut off from the mainland, it is surrounded strictly of water, it is seen as islands, not a peninsula.
How peninsulas shaped history. It is no doubt that peninsulas have shaped human history in such an impactful way, some of these ways being positive and negative. Some positive ways include influencing human settlement, creating opportunities for trading, creating cultural exchange, and an increase in tourism, which can help the economy as well. Some negative ways, however, are creating conflicts between the settlers, creating vulnerable access points, which can then also lead into strategic opportunities. This can be good and can be bad. It can be good for the allies in Europe or the enemies in Europe or just anybody trying to get into the access points that shouldn't be getting in there. The future of Europe's geography. Europe could potentially see an increase of sea level rising, with rates rising a little above the global average. The northern Baltic Sea coast is experiencing land rise which battles the increasing sea rise. Europe is seeing temperature change. We are seeing temperature changes happening around the globe. However, Europe is becoming the fastest warming continent according to the World Meteorological Organization. Along with sea level rising, Europe could see an increase in saltwater intrusion when floods occur. These intrusions could threaten aquifers and agriculture. Pan-European youth culture. What is Pan-European youth culture exactly? Pan-European youth culture is defined as the cultural traits, values, and the lifestyles that are commonly shared by the younger people in Europe. First is the shared identity. Shared identity is when young Europeans have a sense of identification towards Europe, creating a shared spirit throughout the continent. Secondly is globalization and digitalization. This is when there is an increase in global media, music, and fashion. This creates a unified culture in Europe's younger culture. Lastly is shared values, which is similar to shared identity. This is when Europeans formed by the unified culture and are formed by or through music, food, and fashion. This leads into a connected generation. What is a connected generation, you may ask? A connected generation describes how young Europeans, created by a shared identity and culture that travels beyond borders. This term represents the youth and how they are more unified culturally than other generations. mainly because of the digital world that we are all a part of. These cultures connect the generation through fashion, technology, attitude, and many others. This is similar to the shared values and shared identity in the pan-European youth culture.
The role of the EU and Schengen. The European Union, EU, is a group of European countries that work together on things like trade, travel, and laws to make life easier for their citizens. One important part of this is the Schengen area, which allows people to move across many European countries without border checks, almost like traveling between states in the US. This makes it easier for people to work, study, and travel around Europe. The EU and Schengen together play a big role in uniting Europe and giving its people more freedom and opportunities. In this map to the side, we can see the Schengen area. The countries in blue are members of the Schengen area, and the stripes are the non-EU country members of the Schengen area. So the gray are not Schengen. Music, a universal language. Music is often called a universal language because people everywhere can understand and connect to it, even if they don't speak the same words. In Europe, music has played a huge role in bringing cultures together, from classical composers like Beethoven and Mozart to modern pop and electronic artists. It crosses borders and helps people share emotions, stories, and traditions. No matter where you are in Europe, music is something that can unite people and make them feel connected. As you can see, the picture of music to bring this slide together. Music is very important in Europe and everywhere. That brings us into festivals and events. Festivals and events are an important part of European culture because they bring people together to celebrate traditions, history, and art, kind of like music did. From Oktoberfest in Germany to La Tomatina in Spain, and from music festivals like Tomorrowland in Belgium to cultural events like the Venice Carnival in Italy, each country has its own unique celebrations. These gatherings let people experience local food, music, and customs while also attracting visitors from around the world. Festivals and events show how Europe values community and shared experiences. This picture in the background is from Oktoberfest in Germany, a annual celebration fair that they have every year and brings many people around, drink a lot and stuff, as you can see in that picture. The Erasmus Plus effect. The Erasmus Plus program is a big opportunity for students in Europe to study, train, or work in different countries. It helps young people experience new cultures, learn languages, and build skills that are useful for their future. Many students say the program changes their lives because it makes them more confident and open-minded. The Erasmus Plus effect is about creating connections across Europe and helping the next generation feel like part of a larger community. I personally think this is a very good program and wish we had something more similar in the USA to this. This is very good. Next generation is very important always. And speaking of the next generation, that brings us into social media's influence. This is obviously a big influence on the younger generation that we know. Like, it's very addicting, and Gen Z, of course, very big into social media. So, social media has a big influence in Europe because it changes how people communicate, share ideas, and stay connected. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and X, which was formerly Twitter, are used by millions of Europeans every day to follow news, discover trends, and express opinions. It also helps spread culture and connect people across different countries, but it can sometimes spread misinformation or create pressure to look a certain way. Overall, social media shapes how many Europeans see the world and interact with each other. So yeah, as I mentioned, social media is a very, very big influence. It can be a very negative tool, though, if used the wrong way. It can divide these countries, try to make one country seem superior. It can bring depression and isolation to adolescents using it too much, but of course, it can be very good and spread the culture and bring up people. So it really just depends on how people use it. Youth and activism and society. This is going on how we've been mentioning the younger generation. So that brings us here. Youth in Europe play an important role in activism and society because they bring fresh ideas and push for change. Many young people join movements for climate action, human rights, and equality, showing that their voices matter in shaping the future. Through protests, online campaigns, and volunteering, they work to make their communities better. Youth activism shows how the next generation is always stepping up to take responsibility and make a difference in Europe. This is very cool to see, as the world will literally be in their hands in the next 10, 20, 30 years, and this is who's going to be running everything, so it's good to see them getting involved already and know that the future is going to be in good hands with this younger generation. This brings us into bridging national identities. Bridging national identities in Europe means finding ways for people to be proud of their own culture, but also feeling connected to a larger European community. Programs like student exchanges, shared festivals, and open borders help people understand each other better and see what they have in common. This balance allows Europeans to celebrate their unique traditions while also still working together as one. It shows that national pride and unity can exist side by side. This is what I think is very cool about Europe. It's obviously one big continent, and it's one in that way, but also has all these little countries with their own unique traditions. So yeah, you have like Europe as a whole, but it's all very different, but it's all Europe. Like, it's very cool. Like North America is a lot of USA, but over here you got all these different traditions, cultures, but they all still unite and work together as one. It's very cool. It's very different than what we have. And that brings us into the European dream. It's kind of like the American dream, but we'll dive into it. The European dream is the idea that people across Europe can live with freedom, peace, and opportunity while still valuing diversity. It's about creating a continent where citizens can travel, study, and work in different countries without barriers. Many see it as a vision of cooperation, equality, and a better future built through unity. The European dream reflects hope that people can come together and succeed while respecting each other's differences. This is just a great overall goal for the continent, and it's great to see, as I mentioned, how they're all different countries, but they all work together for one goal and for peace throughout, and it's good to see everyone wanting to cooperate. Key geographic features and landmarks.
Hello, this is Dylan Chattel, and I'm here to talk about key geographic features and landmarks. Iconic European landmarks. In Italy, we have the Colosseum and the Leaning Tower of Pisa. In Spain, we have the Sagrada Familia and the Alhambra. In Greece, we have the Acropolis and the Pantheon. In the United Kingdom, Big Ben, Stonehenge, Buckingham Palace, and the Tower of London. The Eiffel Tower of France. It was built from 1887 to 1889. It serves as a symbol of French technological advancements and a defining feature of the Parisian skyline. The location, Champ de Mars, Paris, France. Originally built for the 1889 World's Fair and later serving as a scientific and radio transmission tower. Fun fact about the Eiffel Tower, it was also supposed to be torn down after 20 years. Yet they kept it for a radio transmission tower. It also takes 60 tons of paint to repaint the entire tower. London's Big Ben. Built from 1843 to 1859, after the old Palace of Westminster burned down in 1834. Located at the Houses of Parliament, Westminster, London, it symbolizes the British culture and stands for the nation's pride. A fun fact about the Big Ben is that the bell inside weighs over 13.7 tons. The Roman Colosseum, also known as the Flavian Amphitheater. Located in Rome, Italy, built from 70 to 80 AD under King Titus. Can hold up to 50 to 80,000 people and served a role in entertainment such as gladiatorial contests, animal hunts, along with public executions. It symbolizes the power and engineering abilities that the ancient Rome possessed. A fun fact about the Roman Colosseum is that Romans used to flood the Colosseum for mock sea battles called Namachai, and is the largest amphitheater ever built. The Acropolis of Athens. The Acropolis of Athens was a symbol of Athenian power in ancient times. It was built between 447 and 406 BC. It was also a religious and defensive citadel for the city of Athens, showing a sense of power to the rest of the world. The site stretches all the way back to the Mycenaean era when it functioned as a royal residence. The religious Acropolis was built for the goddess Athena as a dedication to the Greek god. The majestic Alps. The Alps were created by a collision of the African and Eurasian tectonic plates millions of years ago. Mountains range from France to Switzerland to Italy to Germany and to Austria. This range of mountains supplies 90% of Europe's water supply for lowland areas. Humans have lived in the Alps for more than 45,000 years, and the Alps are home to a diverse array of wildlife and offer varied landscapes from snow-capped peaks to flower-filled fields and pristine glacial lakes. Volcanoes and geothermal hotspots. The Italian peninsula has some of the most active volcanoes in Europe, resulting from the African plate subducting beneath the Eurasian plate. Mount Etna, located on the island of Sicily, this is Europe's highest and most active stratovolcano, with near constant activity. Mount Vesuvius near Naples. Vesuvius is a dangerous dormant volcano known for its cataclysmic 79 AD eruption that destroyed Pompeii. Its last eruption was in 1944. In Greece, Santorini, this is an active volcano caldera known for its massive Minoan eruption around 1600 BC. Its last eruption was in 1950. Famous European rivers. The Danube, flowing through 10 countries into the Black Sea. The Rhine, connecting the Alps to the North Sea via Germany and Netherlands. The Volga, Europe's longest river, and is a key waterway in Russia for its navy. And the Elbe, which flows from the Czech Republic into the North Sea. Notable canals and waterways. Rhine-Main-Danube Canal, linking the North Sea to the Black Sea. the Kiel Canal, connecting the North and the Baltic Seas. Canal du Midi, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This historic canal connects Toulouse to the Mediterranean Sea. Bridgewater Canal, an 18th century canal built to transport coal from Worsley to Manchester during the Industrial Revolution. And last, but finally not least, the Amsterdam-Rhine Canal connects the major ports of Amsterdam to the interior of Europe, facilitating trade between the North Sea and the continent's vast river system. Europe's coastal geography. Pan-European coastal regions can be classified by their respective sea basins, such as the Baltic Sea, North Sea, Northeast Atlantic Ocean, and the Mediterranean Sea, and finally, the Black Sea. Europe's coastal geography is characterized by diverse features including rocky cliffs, sandy beaches, fjords, and large estuaries, all shaped by processes of erosion, transportation, and deposition. A significant portion of European population lives in coastal regions, with the majority concentrated in urban areas along the coast. Fun facts and final thoughts. A continent of contrasts. A continent of contrasts is a phrase to describe continents that exhibit differences within their geography, cultures, and their economies. Geographic contrasts. The Arctic tundra in the northern Scandinavian, in contrast to the Mediterranean beaches in South Spain and Greece, or the Alpine peaks that are in Switzerland in contrast to Austria's flat plains in the Netherlands. Economic contrasts. There are some wealthy nations such as Switzerland and Norway in contrast to some developing countries like Serbia and Ukraine. Cultural contrasts. There are over 200 languages spoken across Europe, along with a good bit of different regions such as Catholic, Protestant, and Orthodox. Europe's hidden gems. Syros, Greece is a popular destination for cat lovers due to its high population of stray cats. Ys in France is a charming medieval village perched atop cliffs overlooking the French Riviera. Matera in Italy is an ancient city with homes carved into rock, creating an otherworldly underground city landscape. The Sintra in Portugal is a fairy tale town near Lisbon, famous for its romantic 19th century architecture and lush landscapes. A glimpse into the future. Imagine you're a Roman citizen and a time traveler goes back in time to talk to people from the past about what the world has become in the future. He brings pictures of world monuments like the Statue of Liberty, the Golden Gate Bridge, or even Christ the Redeemer in Brazil. What would you think about if you were that Roman citizen that saw the technological and architectural advancements that man has made? I want you all to grab a sheet of paper and write down at least 3 things you've learned during this presentation. Also, write down 3 questions that you have. We appreciate y'all for your time today, and we would like to say thank you to listening to our presentation.